Hello everyone! In today's English for Adults lesson, you'll practice speaking naturally with 150 everyday sentences and follow-up questions designed to help you have more confident conversations. Here's how it works. I'll say a sentence first, followed by a related follow-up question, just like in a real conversation. This will help you become familiar with natural conversation patterns, expand your vocabulary, and speak English with greater confidence. The lesson is organised into clear sections covering everyday topics such as daily life, work, shopping, travel, family, hobbies, and much more, so you'll practice English you'll genuinely use in real life situations. Wherever you're learning, let's get started and take your spoken English to the next level. I realised halfway through the day that I'd left my watch at home. Did you keep checking your wrist anyway? I thought I'd lost my keys, but they were in my pocket all along. How long did you spend looking for them? I rushed out of the house only to realise I'd forgotten my wallet. How far had you gone before you noticed? I accidentally wore odd socks and didn't notice until later. Did anyone point it out, or did you spot it yourself? I was convinced today was Friday, but it was only Wednesday. Were you already thinking about the weekend? I made myself a cup of tea and forgot all about it. Did you make another one and forget that as well? I spent ages looking for my glasses before realising they were on my head. Was anyone trying not to laugh? I waved at someone who wasn't actually waving at me. Did you just pretend you were waving at someone else? I walked into a room and completely forgot why I'd gone in there. Did you remember in the end, or was it gone forever? I thought I was running late all morning, but I'd read the time wrong. Did you suddenly have loads of time to spare? I always set my alarm half an hour earlier than I need to. Does that actually help you start the day without rushing? I skipped breakfast this morning because I overslept. What did you end up eating instead? I usually grab a coffee before heading into work. Is that enough to wake you up, or do you need something else? I didn't get much sleep last night, so I've been exhausted all day. Do you think you'll have an early night tonight? I try to avoid checking my phone as soon as I wake up. What's the first thing you usually do in the morning? I left the house in such a hurry that I forgot my lunch. What did you end up having for lunch? I usually listen to a podcast on my way to work. Have you found any podcasts you'd recommend? I ended up getting stuck in traffic for nearly an hour. What did you do to pass the time? I've started laying out my clothes the night before. Has it made your mornings any less stressful? I always make time for a short walk after dinner. Who do you usually go with, if anyone? I've promised to take my parents out for dinner this weekend. Have you decided where you're going to take them? My brother dropped by unexpectedly yesterday evening. What did the two of you end up doing? We haven't had a proper family meal together for ages. Who would you invite if you could organise one this weekend? I spent most of Sunday helping my sister move into her new flat. Was everything moved in by the end of the day? My grandparents always have the best stories to tell. What's one story you'll never forget hearing? I forgot my cousin's birthday until the evening. What did you do as soon as you realised? My partner surprised me by cooking my favourite meal. What was the occasion, or was it just a lovely surprise for no particular reason? We ended up talking for hours without noticing the time. What were you chatting about for so long? I'm trying to spend less time on my phone when I'm with my family. Have you noticed a difference since you started doing that? We always laugh whenever we look through old family photos. What's the funniest memory that always comes up when you look through those photos? I've been putting off clearing out the garage for months. What do you think you'll find hidden away once you finally get round to doing it? I spent most of yesterday assembling a new bookcase. Did everything go according to plan, or did you run into a few problems along the way? The washing machine stopped working halfway through a cycle. What was the first thing you did when you realised something wasn't right? I finally got around to repainting the spare bedroom. Are you happy with how it turned out, or would you change anything if you did it again? I accidentally locked myself out of the house yesterday. How did you manage to get back inside in the end? I've started keeping a few herbs on the kitchen windowsill. Which herbs do you find yourself using most often when you're cooking? The neighbours invited us over for a barbecue last weekend. Did you know them well beforehand, or was it a good chance to get to know them better? I spent the whole afternoon sorting through old boxes in the loft. Did you come across anything you'd completely forgotten you still had? I couldn't decide where to hang the new picture in the living room. Who usually has the final say when it comes to decorating in your home? We finally bought a new sofa after talking about it for ages. What's the first thing you look for when you're choosing a piece of furniture? I stumbled across a little cafe last weekend that serves the best homemade cakes. What usually makes you want to go back to the same cafe or restaurant again? I tried making homemade pizza from scratch for the first time. If you could improve one thing about it next time, what would you change? We ended up waiting nearly 40 minutes for our food to arrive. Would the long wait put you off going back, or would you give the place another chance? I've recently started experimenting with new recipes at the weekend. What's one dish you've always wanted to learn how to make properly? The portion was so generous that I couldn't finish the whole meal. Do you usually take the leftovers home, or do you leave them behind? I completely forgot to check the menu before booking the restaurant. Were you happy with the food once you got there? My friend insisted on paying for everyone's meal. How do you usually decide who pays when you're eating out with friends? I added a handful of fresh herbs and it completely transformed the flavour. Do you think fresh herbs make a big difference when you're cooking? The restaurant was so busy that we had to wait for a table. Do you think great food is worth waiting for, or would you rather go somewhere quieter? I've been cutting back on takeaways and cooking more meals at home. What's been the biggest benefit since you started doing that? I popped into the supermarket for a few things and came out with far more than I'd planned. What's one thing you almost always end up buying even if it isn't on your list? I found exactly what I was looking for in the first shop I visited. What was it you were looking for? The queue was so long that I almost put everything back. Did you decide to wait in the end? I bought a jacket online, but it didn't fit properly. Did you decide to return it, or did you keep it anyway? I always compare prices before making a big purchase. What's the last thing you spent a lot of money on? The shop assistant was really helpful when I couldn't find what I needed. Did they manage to find exactly what you were looking for? I managed to pick everything up in less than 20 minutes. Do you prefer getting your shopping done quickly, or do you like taking your time? I couldn't resist buying a dessert at the last minute. What dessert did you end up buying? I forgot to bring my reusable shopping bags again. Is that something you often forget? The shoes looked great in the shop, but they weren't very comfortable. Did you buy another pair instead? I had 3 meetings back to back this morning. Were you glad when the last one was over? I stayed behind after work to finish a report. Did you manage to finish it? My manager thanked me for all my hard work. What had you been working so hard on? I forgot to bring my laptop charger to work. Did you have to go home and get it? The printer stopped working just before I needed it. Did you manage to find another printer, or did you have to come up with a different solution? I made a small mistake in an email this morning. Was it just a typo or something a bit more embarrassing? I had lunch with a colleague I've known for years. What did the two of you talk about? I finished everything on my to-do list before lunch. What did you do for the rest of the day? A new colleague started work in our team today. Have you had a chance to speak to them yet? I treated myself to a nice coffee on my way to work. What made you decide to treat yourself? I nearly got on the wrong train because I was looking at my phone instead of the departure board. When did you realise you were about to get on the wrong train? The motorway was so busy that the journey took nearly twice as long as usual. What did you do to pass the time? I booked a window seat, but someone was already sitting in it when I got on the plane. What happened after you told them? I left my suitcase on the luggage carousel for so long that I almost didn't recognise it. What made it so difficult to spot? I took a different route home today, and it turned out to be much quicker than I expected. Will you use that route again? The train was delayed by almost an hour, so everyone on the platform was getting a little frustrated. Did anyone know what had caused the delay? I offered my seat to an elderly passenger on the bus this morning. Did they accept your offer straight away? I forgot where I'd parked the car and spent 20 minutes walking around the car park looking for it. How did you finally find it? I downloaded a few podcasts before setting off because I knew it was going to be a long journey. Did the journey feel any shorter? I was convinced I'd missed my flight, but I got to the gate just as they started boarding. What was going through your mind while you were rushing through the airport? I finally got back to the gym after taking a few weeks off. How did it feel to be back? I woke up with a sore throat, so I decided to stay at home and rest. Are you feeling any better now? I went for a long walk after dinner instead of spending the evening on the sofa. Will you do the same tomorrow? I've been trying to drink more water throughout the day instead of reaching for another cup of coffee. Has it been easier than you expected? I signed up for a local charity run, even though I haven't done much running lately. What made you decide to sign up? I completely forgot to stretch before exercising, and I could really feel it afterwards. Were you really sore the next day? I was feeling exhausted by the afternoon, so I decided to take a short break. What do you think made you feel so exhausted? I've started preparing my lunches at home instead of buying something every day. What's your favourite lunch to make? I nearly gave up halfway through the workout, but I was glad I kept going. What kept you going when you felt like giving up? I wasn't expecting the fitness class to be so challenging, but I enjoyed every minute of it. Can I expect to see you there again next week? I spent most of Saturday afternoon reading a book that I'd been meaning to start for months. Did it turn out to be as good as you'd hoped it would be? I decided to try painting for the first time, even though I'd never picked up a paintbrush before. What made you decide to give painting a try? I lost track of time while working in the garden and didn't realise it was getting dark. What were you working on that kept you so busy? I only planned to watch one episode, but before I knew it, I'd watched. Was it really that good, or did you just lose track of time? I dusted off my old guitar and realised I still remembered a few songs. Did it make you want to start playing more regularly again? I went for a walk in the countryside to clear my head after a really busy week. Did the walk help you relax as much as you'd hoped? I signed up for a photography course because I wanted to learn how to take better pictures. What's the first thing you're hoping to learn on the course? I spent the whole evening putting together a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. Were you determined to finish it, or did you leave it for another day? I invited a few friends over for a games night, and we ended up laughing until midnight. Which game turned out to be everyone's favourite? I've recently started switching my phone off for an hour every evening so I can properly relax. What do you usually do during that hour instead? I forgot to charge my phone before leaving the house. How much battery did you have left? I accidentally deleted an important file this morning. Did you manage to get it back? My laptop decided to update just as I was about to start work. Did you have to wait long? I finally changed all my passwords yesterday. What made you decide to change them? I spent ages trying to connect my headphones. What was the problem in the end? I found an old photo on my phone that I'd completely forgotten about. Do you remember when it was taken? My internet stopped working halfway through a video call. Was your camera frozen in an embarrassing position? I cleared out hundreds of old emails this afternoon. Did you delete anything you shouldn't have? I bought a new pair of wireless headphones last week. Have they lived up to your expectations? I nearly sent a message to the wrong person. What would have happened if they'd received it? I bumped into an old friend while I was out shopping yesterday. Did they recognise you straight away? We were only meeting for a quick coffee, but we ended up chatting for nearly 3 hours. Was that the longest coffee catch-up you've ever had? I almost cancelled my plans, but I'm really glad I went in the end. What changed your mind at the last minute? One of my friends always manages to make everyone laugh, no matter what's going on. What's the funniest thing they've ever done? I turned up 20 minutes early because I got the time completely wrong. What did you do while you were waiting? We couldn't decide where to eat, so we walked around for ages before choosing somewhere. Was the place worth the wait in the end? My friend recommended a film, and it turned out to be much better than I expected. Are you going to let them pick your next one too? I completely forgot it was my friend's birthday until I saw everyone's messages online. How fast did you type "Happy birthday"? We laughed so much that people at the next table started looking over at us. Were people smiling as well, or just staring at you? I said I'd only stay for an hour, but I didn't get home until after midnight. What made you stay so much longer than you'd planned? It looks sunny, so I left my umbrella at home. Did you end up regretting that decision? I went for a walk, but the weather changed in minutes. Did you carry on or head straight home? The wind was so strong it nearly blew my hat away. Did you have to run after it? I sat in the garden for half an hour before it started raining. Was that your cue to go inside? I checked the weather forecast and it was completely wrong. Why does that always seem to happen? I forgot to put sunscreen on and paid the price later. Was it one of those mistakes you won't make again? We decided to have a picnic, despite the grey clouds. Did you beat the rain or did it beat you? I was freezing when I left the house, but by lunchtime it was boiling. Did you end up carrying your coat around all afternoon? The beach was much busier than we'd expected. Did you manage to find a good spot? We stayed outside until it got too dark to see. Was it one of those evenings you didn't want to end? I went into the shop for one thing and spent far more than I meant to. What tempted you to spend more? I found a £20 note in an old jacket pocket. Did it feel like free money? I almost paid twice because I thought the payment hadn't gone through. Did your heart skip a beat for a second? I finally cancelled a subscription I'd forgotten I was paying for. How long had you been paying for it? The bill was much lower than I'd expected. Were you pleasantly surprised? I treated myself to something I'd wanted for ages. Have you stopped smiling since you bought it? I couldn't believe how expensive a cup of coffee had become. Did you buy it anyway? I checked my bank balance and breathed a sigh of relief. Did you check it twice just to be sure? I managed to grab the last item before it sold out. How close were you to missing out? I nearly left the shop without my change. Did the cashier call you back? I planned a lazy morning, but it didn't quite work out that way. What ended up keeping you so busy? I finally got round to doing a few jobs I'd been putting off. Which one were you happiest to get out of the way? I meant to have an early night, but I stayed up much later than I'd planned. What kept you awake for so long? I spent most of Sunday catching up with things around the house. Did anyone give you a hand? I went out for some fresh air, and it did me the world of good. How long were you out for? I started watching a film, but I fell asleep halfway through. Was the film that boring, or were you just exhausted? I ended up spending far longer in the garden than I'd expected. Did the time just get away from you? I treated myself to breakfast at my favourite cafe. Did you order your usual or try something different? I spent the afternoon doing absolutely nothing, and it was wonderful. Do you ever feel guilty for doing nothing? I thought the weekend would last forever, but it disappeared in no time. Why do weekends always seem to fly by?